Hi everyone. I have great pleasure in welcoming and introducing Ivan Lehocki today. This man needs no introduction, but still I'll try to do some justice here. So he's a man with a well-rounded personality, and to give a background about what he has done, he has co-founded Dig Science in Norway, and he has also founded Lehocki Geospace, and he has been a consultant geophysicist. And to give you a slight introduction about his educational background, he has done his master's in geophysics and space science and technology, and he's currently pursuing his doctorate. And not just that, he has also completed 5 marathons, summited 5 mountain peaks, and he has walked 1,000 kilometers from Switzerland to Croatia in 26 days, which is something which we'll all talk about later in the interview. And then he has cycled 2,200 kilometers from Norway to Croatia in 17 days, and he has also skydived in Switzerland. So, how do you do all this? Like how do you allocate time to do what you have done? It's not just science, you have also done some physical activities and stuff, so please talk to us about it.
Hi, Christian. Thank you for the introduction, and hello to all of the people who are watching this video. Well, first of all, it was actually 4 peaks, not 5, but one peak I climbed twice. So essentially, Kilimanjaro was twice. I climbed it twice, once in I think 2013, once in 2016. And to answer your first question, I would say that actually I fail at this task of allocating time for everything I would like to do, and I fail it miserably because I would really like to do so much more things than what I have done already, and I can illustrate it with few examples. I would like to climb more mountains. I have a few that I would really like to visit. One of the biggest desires I have now lately is to walk along the whole length of New Zealand. I'd like to travel more to see our beautiful globe. One thing I have started working on in 2013 but never finished was private pilot education. I actually did a theoretical part, never finished the practical part, and for that I'm really sorry. I have a piano at home and I don't have time to. I should somehow reorganize myself and try to play at least half an hour a day. I don't manage to do it, and I'm really sorry for that. So then let me just remember one more thing, like chess. I would like to play so much. I would like to devote much more time to playing chess. No time for that either. As you said, Dr. Philos education, which is similar to PhD. I'm still but it's a slight difference in the sense that it's a completely independent research, and I still am and I need to actually create or write 6 papers instead of I think 3 or 4 that PhD needs. And I'm still 2 papers away from that. So in a sense, I keep successfully procrastinating finishing that. To be honest, I would really like to spend more time with my girlfriend and her kids. No time for that, so I kind of try to squeeze it in whenever I can. So yeah, even though it's these are the things I really would like to do, but how did I manage to do the things I have done? I have to admit, it's been a lot of improvisation. For example, my first marathon, how it went? It was like 10 days before the marathon. I think you and me both were in Kiruna at that time in Sweden. And I never even knew. I didn't even know 10 days before the marathon that I would go to it. And then a friend of mine calls me and he says, "Listen, Ivan, maybe you can join me on this marathon event." And I said, like, don't people prepare like for half a year for that kind of event? And he said, "Well, yeah, of course, but you can manage. You're in good shape and stuff like that." So I gave to him a resolute no. And then that very same day, I went to run. I remember it was quite chilly, quite cold in this freezing Kiruna environment. I managed these 20 kilometers. Then maybe 2 days later, I went and I ran 30 kilometers. It went fine. And then I called him and he told me, "You know what? I think that you can manage. If you did 30, you can do 40 kilometers. So I went, I joined him, and I succeeded. I mean, I did it within 5 hours. My first marathon with 10 days of preparations only, but it hurt like hell after that. So it was really hard. But then another kind of improvisation regarding the mountains. I mean, apart from there were 4 mountain peaks I've climbed, as I told you, one of them twice. So essentially 5 climbs above 5,000 meters, and one of them was Elbrus, Mount Elbrus, and it's really hard. So the weather conditions were really bad. Even our guide told us that he had never climbed in such circumstances before. So so what happened was that the way I prepared for it was that I put like almost 30 kilos of books into my backpack, and I was walking up and down here in my house. I have 16 stairs, which is like a little bit hilarious when you think about it. People also prepare much more seriously for that. They go to these smaller winter climbs, and they do all this preparation. I just skipped all of that, and somehow, I have this sheer not giving up attitude, and that's what pushed me through this challenge.
We got to learn from you. Can you talk to us about your inspiration?
My inspiration. Well, there are many inspirations I could think of. Maybe the first inspiration that comes to my mind would be, and this is a little bit of cliche, but that's the case really, is Elon Musk and actually his legion that stands behind him. I call it a legion because this is really a legion of finest minds, some of the finest minds on this planet, that are trying to work together on improving this world and maybe even other worlds in a sense. So they are on a mission to make our planets or our species a multiplanetary species, which I think could have far-reaching and good consequences. And also they will probably allow us to explore solar system and with time even further. So then, okay, that's Elon Musk and his crew. But then there are many other people I could, not people that I would single out, but maybe in general, and then later I will come to a specific inspiration. I would also say that there are inspiration could be also those people who are not really mentioned in the news. These are these true heroes that go under the radar, and that they do good deeds essentially to every living or any living being around them, close to them, so I salute those people as well. Again, a little bit of cliche, but at the same time, I think it's really very important to mention. I also salute and I find inspiration in every mother on this planet. Why? Because they raising a child, I think it's a very important and a very hard task. And the patience that women have is something that women, most of us at least, don't have. So bravo to all the women, all the mothers on this planet. And now to be a little bit more specific, one figure who has actually pushed me to do things which when I already thought that I cannot do them, is actually my father. So he is a retired carpenter, and he has been working really hard and silently throughout his life. So I barely have any memories of hanging out with him, having some quality time as a kid with him. We never went as a family to any restaurant because we didn't have money for that, never went to movies and stuff like that. At the same time, what he has taught me, this is actually, I call this a silent education. So he has taught me by example that actually if you persevere, you can actually accomplish huge tasks. For example, even this walk from Switzerland to Croatia, this is like 1.5 million steps. it's in the beginning, it's nice, easy, and romantic. But after the 10th, 15th day, when you start having a pain in one of your legs, like every time you step on it, then you understand that it's really, it can become really hard. But then you have people like my father, whom I think of, and I think he managed to do even harder things. So why couldn't I manage to, finish this task?
Wow. I mean, it's good to hear. Yeah. So, what is your view about space exploration?
Okay, so this is a question that you kind of touched upon with Ellen, and I have to say that I I slightly didn't like the answer or one part of her answer. And that was, I think it went something like, I will just paraphrase, I don't know exactly what she said, but like the argument that we heard so many times from other people is that like we first need to sort out and solve the problems on this planet, right? What I'm afraid of is that if we waited for all these big problems to be solved, our civilization will, before all these problems will be solved, our civilization would perish. So there are many things that I could now mention why I think that investment in space exploration or space travel in general is almost a must. So first, when you think about it, it seems as if a huge amount of money is being spent on spaceflight, But at the same time, let's try to put things. Let me just try to throw some numbers, and then try to make your own judgment. For example, I think you have heard about successful launch of James Webb Telescope. The cost of this mission is around 10 billion US dollars. So how big or how small this number is? If I told you that, for example, the cost for this F-35 jet fighter program, which is developed in USA, it cost up till now around 400 billion US dollars. Okay, so 400 billion US dollars. US defense budget in 2019 was $700 billion, and compare that now to NASA's $19 billion. Okay, so it's less than 30 times less money than what US defense budget is, $700 billion. So yes, but even this NASA's budget is just the most visible piece of this federal money spent. There's a good chunk of money actually, which is directed to space. Is not really for space exploration. Is for, I don't know, for some space military activities. There are other governmental agencies that are using this money for weather prediction, climate research, etc. So I would say that this, NASA's budget is like really the most visible piece of federal money spent. And I have this comparison. I call this shark news. Okay, so what do I mean by shark news? When shark attacks any person in the world, what happens is that you have almost instant, immediate coverage around the globe. Everybody knows that the person was injured, heavily injured, or maybe even killed in shark attack. So at the same time, this is something like if airplane crashes, like passenger airplane, 150 people are killed, you will hear about it. At the same time, if on the same day, many more orders of magnitude more people have died in car crashes, then that news is not really, it will not be globally covered because on yearly base globally maybe 100, maybe up to 900, maybe 1,000 people dies in airplane accidents, and 1.5 million people, 1 point something million people dies in car related accidents, pedestrians, cyclists, and everything else. So what I'm trying to say here is that the more frequent the event, the less likely it will be reported, and the other way around. So NASA's small budget is it's been spoken so much about that people think that it's really big chunk of money. It's really small actually. So I would say that, okay, so what are really the reasons? Why would I really strongly support to explore space and actually to put much more money into space exploration? First of all, as many great scientists say, curiosity. Curiosity is the driver for the innovation, and innovation will improve life of every person on this planet. Okay, so I have here a list of things that already have been solved or improved because of our space travel. So if you don't mind, I would just go through them. These are, let me just find them. So the space program has helped us address a number of human health issues. So this is just human health issues: tissue regeneration, the healing of wounds, the loss of bone strength, the function of the inner ear and its role in balance and mobility, numerous advances in cancer research accomplished through spaceflight medical research, advances in radiology, and improvements in prosthetic limbs. Then not human health related, we have a GPS system, space-related program that have initiated technology that enables creation of PCs, mobile phones, banks. Do you even think about it? Banks depend on satellites to carry data across the country and around the globe, speeding up and securing the transactions. Better farming methods, collection and distribution of fresh water is monitored from space. So it's the list just goes on. Okay, and then there are also other things like, of course, many also people would mention that for example, even Apollo program has actually inspired so many professionals that are not professionals who are leading scientific and engineering experiments in not only in NASA but around the globe. I don't know if you have heard of this overview effect. This is actually this picture from 1968 from Apollo 8 when it was on 1968 on Christmas Day of 1968, they went around the moon, what some people call dark side of the moon, but it's actually the far side of the moon, right? And then they saw the Earth rise. And this overview effect is actually causing people to, or at least astronauts who have lived through the experience, to understand how petty actually and these conflicts that we have on this planet actually are, from this cosmic perspective. And if I'm not mistaken, I remember that I think his name is Michael Collins. So he was the third astronaut on this Apollo 11 mission. And he writes in his book, Carrying the Fire, that organization, Doctors Without Borders, was actually also inspired by this overview effect. So in other words, there is this ripple of so many things that actually how can I say it? Many things come out of the space exploration that we don't even think about, right? And these are just some, not even general things, but there are some general things which I also have to address for sure. And I would like to, I have a citation from two very, very known physicists, which I think is also very important to read here. Okay. So one of them is, let me see, Stephen Hawking said that we are running out of space and the only places to go to are the other worlds. It is time to explore other solar systems, and spreading out may be the only thing that saves us from ourselves. I'm convinced that humans need to leave Earth. And to that, for example, the other icon in physics is called Freeman Dyson, also like said, our job is to help life spread out from this planet and make the rest of the universe as beautiful and varied as the Earth. That worlds may be beautiful, just as deserts may be beautiful, but worlds full of life give birth to a far wider range of beauty. So I think these two things, the way they said it, it's just beautiful. And my kind of conclusion is that even now, 2 billion people are so poor that they don't even have electricity, more or less 2 billion people. So space offers all the resources that we need to increase the global standard of living, even well beyond what USA has now as a standard. And I feel that the number of problems on this planet are just going to increase unless we go to space. And if we go to space, we will have unimaginable technological advancements, which will then improve all our lives. And by the way, fun fact, do you know, I mean, it's not so fun fact, but did you know that 3 asteroids, quite large asteroids, have just zipped past Earth in I think in December, yeah, 2021, so essentially a month ago. One of them was 300 meters wide. So I'm afraid that, you know, if one such event happens on our planet, let's say just a smaller meteorite hit, let's say smaller asteroid hit, let's say it just evaporates or devastates the city, then I'm pretty sure that people would be much more kind of aware of the potential problem that, you know, much bigger comet or asteroid is on the collision course with Earth. It's not the question of whether it's going to be happening, it's the question of when it's going to be happening, right?
Thank you so much about space. We have a lot to ponder upon. You have given such a good answer about all those things. So any lesson you want to pass to the younger generation?
No lesson whatsoever. Okay, that's a joke. Of course, I have some lessons. Well, yeah. So first of all, I feel myself that being a little bit more than 40 years old, I think it would be time that I create my own offsprings. You know, time is flying, and I think I feel that I'm kind of becoming more and more like through my girlfriend who has kids. I feel her kids are like my own kids. So I wonder if I love them so much, how much would I love my own kids? Anyways, that's not the lesson, right? That's the lesson for myself. The lesson for the younger generations would be, one of the lessons would be maybe not to ever stop learning. But what do I mean by never stop learning? I don't mean by like rote memorization. That's one of the problems actually also with educational system, where even I grew up in this generation where we were just learning so many things by heart, never really learning to think, you know, to solve the problems. And so what I mean is I would like younger generations really to learn in order to understand things, right? So I think that, I mean, I can even learn from Flat Earther, and you know what I can learn from him or her? I can learn that our system of education is on fragile pillars, and that it's failing miserably. So in other words, they didn't get a proper education in order to think for themselves, and in order to find, for example, if nothing else, clues or evidence, you know, that the model of Earth being flat is so wrong. Anyways. So on the other hand, I think that this advice that I gave, never stop learning, is something that I don't really need to give to those really curious minds. And on the other hand, I don't need to give it to those who are not curious, because by default they are not curious. But then again, maybe there's a class of people or young minds in between who might use this advice in a sense. I could also say that I see that the world is changing really fast now at an accelerated pace. So, for example, I was taught that it's really good to learn languages. And I'm not sure how good of advice it is anymore now, because, you know, the way, so the languages are, there's going to be, what do you call this? Engineers and scientists are working on this universal, like a translator. So essentially, it's going to be it's becoming better and better, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be taken to the level where it's redundant to know the language. You're just going to be able to. I already experienced that myself in China. It's of course the first steps, but you know, she didn't know any English, I didn't know any Chinese, and yet we were able to communicate via Google Translator. Maybe one of the very important lessons that I kind of have learned through my life, and which I would definitely like to emphasize and share with younger and maybe even older generation, or my own for that matter, is that one should always know, like, have the balance in pros and cons arguments of any topic that you talk about. Okay, for example. One of the things that is mentioned more and more nowadays is, are we alone in the universe? And you usually get this statistical arguing that, or reasoning that you have 100 billion galaxies, approximately, it's just an estimate, and in each of these you have 100 billions of stars, right? So again, it's an estimate. Some say even that in our Milky Way you have 100, 200, maybe even up till 400 billion stars. So let's just talk about the estimates. So then the reasoning goes further. Now we have found so many exoplanets, even planetary systems. So there must be life out there in the world. Yes, that's a very good reasoning. But the same statistical reasoning could go the other way around as well. So the counter argument is that so the counter argument is actually that there was quite a long series of highly unlikely events that happened in a actually right manner in order for the life, and especially intelligent life, to appear on this planet. So this is, if I can make a comparison, if you, for example, shuffle a deck of cards, you have 52 cards, and the likelihood that it will land in the same order as you have started it is 1 to the 10 to the 65 chance, right? So 1 to the 10 to the power of 65. That's like incredibly small likelihood, and this is in theory probability is called compounded probabilities. So if you think about that way, for the life to how unlikely it was for life to emerge, it's then this argument of 10 to the 22 stars being in our observable universe is kind of getting its different place. Okay, so things are getting into balance. By this, I'm not saying that there is no life, especially like primitive life. Not most probably. I would say, of course, there are good arguments that there is, but the bottom line is nobody knows, right? Yeah. So one thing which is kind of connected to what I was just saying now is be open-minded, right? So, of course, in the light of new information, every person, every intelligent person can change, maybe not radically, but definitely slightly, maybe even completely change his or her own views regarding any given topic. Maybe one young or anybody should also be tolerant to other ideas, unless they are really, really bad. I don't know what that might be. Of course, I guess this goes almost without saying. I hope that they will continue exploring, because wonders are waiting for us out there. And maybe one last advice is like not to spread yourself too thin. And I fell into that mistake, so to speak, in a sense that I didn't do one problem at a time. I didn't have my clear focus on anything, on one thing. And for that, I don't think that I don't think I really excel at anything. I'm just like good in many things, but don't really excel at anything. Well, that can be regarded as good or bad, depending on whom you ask.
Uh, Question: what do you want to be remembered as?
Can you just repeat it? I didn't hear now.
It's my final. What do you want to be remembered as?
Okay, so what do I want to be remembered as, right? Well, okay, answering these questions, I think it could take us in many directions. So, when I was a kid, my highest aspiration was to be the first man on Mars, first person on Mars, right? And but why did I want to do that? I remember clearly that the reason why I really wanted to do that is because I wanted my name to be written in all the encyclopedias of all the around on our planet, right? In every country, my name would be written as the first person on Mars. Of course, I grew older, and if I was selected to go to Mars, my idea or my reasoning and reasons for doing the mission would definitely be quite different. And it's not really just a line. I really would like to go in order to somehow to try to better this own world, okay, in every aspect possible, even if for just a tiny little bit. Uh, the other way how I could be or would like to be remembered, maybe I could. When you think about again, let's go a little bit to the probabilities. So when you think about if you know what are the probabilities, mathematical probabilities of how unlikely it is that exactly I won the lottery of life, against all the odds, because it's I'm not sure, but I know that some smart people have calculated what the chances are that any given person is alive today through this compounded chain of events. It's essentially zero, right? So when you think about that, I would like actually that once I depart this planet, once I cease to exist, I would actually like my friends, my relatives, not to mourn over my death, but rather rejoice for I have lived. And I know that there are maybe even, I think even in India, you actually do have these ceremonies where actually you celebrate person's life. And here particularly in Croatia, maybe also in Europe, we don't really have that. Yes?
Death, like Nigeria, like uh, they usually call it Thanksgiving when someone dies, and they celebrate death. So
There
I
you
think
go.
some countries like Nigeria have it. Yeah.
Yes, that's something we don't really have. Well, okay, we do have this gathering after the burial. You could say that there people are maybe talking about that person, but I'm not sure how much they are, in a sense, celebrating the life of that person. But okay, that's another topic. But in any case, my life is still far away from being finished story. So
Lot more life, so I think the question can wait.
yes, definitely. And of course, I mean, the way I will lead the continuation of my life, that will dictate how people will remember me. And I do hope that most of them, at least, who will remember me in like at least one generation, because the second generation I will not have the faintest idea who Ivan Lehocki was, which is absolutely fine. What
Thank you.
was now?
Thank you so much. Like, I mean, thank you for, coming to this interview, and it has been a pleasure talking to you. And
Thank
your
you.
life is inspiration to many of us. So wish you all the best for your future, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you very much for having me on this interview.